Hey, what's up? This is Alchemist here. For this video, we're taking a look at this Guerrilla Group Disaster Ops jacket. This particular version is the black and green variety, which is a collab with music producer Howie Lee. So this is pretty much the first outerwear proper jacket that Guerrilla Group have done. So they sent me this one to check it out and do a little bit of a review. So Guerrilla Group are a pretty well-known name in the world of techwear, most notably for their grid tanks and for their cargo pants, which have a lot of heavy detailing, different straps and additional features and stuff. Aesthetically, I think this is quite a classic looking techwear jacket. It's got the odd extra zip and pocket and such on the outside. It's got some asymmetric detailing going on there with the colours. It's got a higher neckline. It's got some Mandarin text on the front. I think there's quite a few little things going on to make this look pretty cool. There's some cool colour choices here. This one, as you guys can see, is the green and black version. There is also a blue and dark grey, which they were originally going to send me, but then apparently that one was about to sell out, so they decided to send me this one instead. So whether that one is sold out yet or not, I don't know. So there's either going to be one or two colour options going on at the moment. I've heard as well that there will be an all-black version coming, so if you want to stick to that true tech ninja look, then hang on a little bit for that. I think sort of January, February type time is when that's going to be coming out. This jacket has a slightly extended length, which you'll notice both around the waist and on the arms. It's not quite parka length, but a bit longer than your average jacket, so if you want something that's quite substantial, then this is a pretty good option. The hood also extends quite far forward. It's got this kind of peak on the top. It's not the same as the ACG funnel hood or the ACG jacket, which kind of creates that funnel type effect. It's mostly on the top, so it's sort of like wearing a baseball cap underneath a jacket hood. I did have a quick stand out in the rain, and it seemed like that peak did quite a good job of keeping rain off my face. I did notice though that it's quite a close fitting hood, so it doesn't quite have that spaciousness that perhaps the ACG Alpine jacket would have. It does have quite a snug fit, so keep that in mind. When it's fully done up, I do think it kind of feels a bit restrictive and quite tight, but I think from a warmth perspective, that's probably no bad thing. But of course, you can just undo the top a little bit, and then that'll just give you a little bit more breathing room around the hood. You can also fully remove this, which is a nice bit of functionality. There is a zip that goes around the back, so if you decide, you know what, I'm going out, it's probably not going to rain, or I'm going to use some other kind of hood or a hat or something that's going to keep me dry, then you can just pull the whole thing off. It looks fine, the zip doesn't like rub on the back of your neck or anything, and I think it gives this jacket a nice additional option. Some jackets I think can feel a bit awkward without the hood because this bit doesn't kind of have anything going on, but I think because that neckline is that little bit higher, then I think it looks okay without the hood. Now aesthetically, one of the main criticisms of this jacket, something which has been a little bit divisive I think among people, is the text on the back. There's quite a large print in Mandarin on the back, which for this one reads Natural Disaster. I think the blue and grey one says Arise, something like that, but it does have slightly different text. But the fact remains that it's got some kind of Asian characters printed on the back quite large, which some people kind of feel are a little bit cringy. I do get that. Personally, I quite like it. I think it's quite cool. But then again, I'm a little bit of a weeb. In the product photos for this, it makes it look like the text sticks out a lot. However, in practice, I think it only really does this if there's direct light on it. It's got kind of a matte finish, so it's not really quite as visible as those pictures might imply in any normal situation. So it doesn't quite stick out as much, which I think makes it look a little bit better. So if you are concerned that that text is a bit cringy, then that might put your mind at ease a little bit. Don't get me wrong, it's still quite visible and it's still quite large. So if you don't like it, then it is visible, so you are going to see it. Unless, of course, you are wearing it with a backpack, because it is pretty much the right height to be covered by something that you're wearing on your back. So if you feel like most of the time you're going to be going out wearing this jacket and you're also going to have a backpack on, then you probably won't see it. Fit-wise, I think this jacket is similar to the Riot Division jacket that I reviewed maybe a month and a half ago. It's got quite a relaxed fit, so Guerrilla Group recommended that I take a large based on my size, which is about 6'1", 6'2", and around a 38-inch chest. So I went for the large, and there is quite a bit of room in there, so it's quite a sort of relaxed, quite a big fit. I think that's okay. You can certainly get a lot under this. So if it's pretty cold outside, you need to layer up, then I would say go for your regular size. But you probably could size down and it would be okay. There is quite a lot of room here, especially around the chest. The sleeves are the right sort of length though. I've got pretty long Guerilla arms and they were fine, so that's all good. So let's talk a little bit about materials. This is made entirely from Eagle Tex, and if that sounds a lot like Gore-Tex to you, then you would be right, because this is pretty much the same sort of technology. You've got that waterproof outer layer, a breathable inner layer, and a kind of barrier layer that goes in the middle. This is about 10k millimeters of breathability and water repellency. I think Gore-Tex is something like 28k, so it's a fair bit less than Gore-Tex. It's more than the Riot Division jacket is, however, by about 2k millimeters. So I think you'll find in most conditions that this is going to give you pretty good water repellency. Unfortunately, it wasn't really raining very much when I took it out outside, but I did give it a quick test, and you can see in a small amount of rain the water is definitely beading off. So you can expect that to happen up to 10k millimeters. Partly as a result of those different coloured panels adding a little bit of bulk, and partly just the lining material that this jacket is made of. It's quite heavyweight, and it does seem to have a little bit of warmth to it, more so than the Riot Division jacket and the ACG Alpine jacket, which I've reviewed before. So that means if you're going to be wearing something in cold weather, this is probably a little bit of a better choice than those other two jackets, depending on what other stuff you have. Personally, I don't have that much in terms of good mid-layer stuff, so I kind of rely on that outerwear a little bit more. So if I'm doing that, I think this Guerilla Group jacket is going to be a solid option for that. The hardware is all YKK, which is all pretty good quality stuff. It's quite a well-known name in zips and buttons and that sort of thing. I did find that the double zip was actually a little bit tricky to get connected. I don't know, there's just a bit of a weird connection there. So maybe there's a bit of a technique to it. But yeah, first couple of times I found that a little bit weird. But apart from that, it seems like all the zip actions are really smooth. Everything connects and disconnects. That hood removes really easily actually, so that was good. In general though, in terms of the material and the feeling of quality, I think it's pretty good considering the retail of $400. It's a little bit cheaper than something like an ACG Gore-Tex shell. And yes, although it's not made with that Gore-Tex material, I still think it feels pretty good and it feels like a solid quality piece. I mentioned pockets very briefly already, but what exactly do we have on here? Well, you can see visible on the outside, there is one breast pocket on the left-hand side. It's a kind of small, medium-size-ish zipped pocket. This one is taped as well, which is good. On the opposite side, there's a little removable piece of branding, so if you want to get rid of that Mandarin lettering, then you can do that. You could replace it with something else if you wanted to, or just leave it with plain Velcro. There's also two pockets a little bit further down. Two of those are unzipped pockets to put your hands in. Those are pretty big and spacious. And then kind of right next to them, basically on top of them, there's some zipped pockets. So there's actually four kind of right where you'd put your hands in. I like that approach of having a lot of pockets all in one place. I think it's going to make it very, very easy to access things. If you're filling all of those pockets up, of course, you're going to end up looking pretty bulky around the stomach area, which is perhaps not a very good look. But if you want to keep a couple of different things in a couple of different places, then I think it's definitely a good option. On the inside as well, you've got a pretty big variety of pockets. There's three on one side. One of them is zipped, one's a big sort of pouch and one's a smaller pouch, and then on the opposite side there's just one single pouch. So in terms of pocket options, there's quite a lot. I don't think you'll have any problems in terms of storage capacity on this. Do be aware that most of these pockets aren't zipped or have some kind of closure, so depending on what sort of activities that you're doing, you might find that you're a bit restricted in what pockets you can actually use, but I think for everyday use it's not really going to be too much of a problem. The colouring of this makes it quite good for working into a techwear wardrobe and using with other techwear pieces. So I personally wore this with a On-You pullover and a Religion t-shirt underneath and some black cargos. So anything that mixes up those classic Tech Ninja black and green colours I think will work pretty well. You can of course just stick to all black as well, and then this green stuff will be a nice little accent on top of that. Or if you want to go all black, of course, you can wait for that one in January. There's also that blue and grey option. I think that's maybe a little bit sort of trickier, but again, I think if you just wear that with some black cargos, you're not going to run into too many difficulties. And it will just make things look a little bit different to your classic Tech Ninja fit, but not different enough that it starts getting sort of hiker core or a little bit weird and doesn't really achieve the aesthetic that you want. It does surprise me a little bit actually, the look of this jacket, in that a lot of the other Guerilla Group pieces, they are quite overstated. Especially the cargos, for example, have loads of straps and zips and pockets and stuff on. And this externally doesn't have too much besides that Mandarin lettering, which gives it that techwear aesthetic. I like the asymmetrical detailing, I think that's quite cool and it makes it look quite different, but it's not quite as sort of crazy zips and stuff everywhere. So I think this is a little bit more of a sober and a more serious piece from Guerilla Group compared to some of their previous releases. So it might be a bit of a key as to how their future releases will go, perhaps more into that functional, I don't know, less cosplay-y perhaps, but still with some of those classic Tech Ninja sorts of looks. All in all, I think this is a really solid release from Guerilla Group. I think it uses decent materials. The price is okay, it's more expensive than your average waterproof jacket, but it's not as expensive as ACG or Acronym, etc. So it puts it at a decent sort of price point, I think. Using that Eagle Tex material allows them to do that as opposed to Gore-Tex, but it still retains a lot of the features. If you enjoyed the video, do make sure to give it a like, I super appreciate it. And that is everything, so thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Shout out to Matteo, who pointed out correctly that the Vans old school North Face collab are actually based on the old school MTE, so a lot of those features that I described are actually available in a non-North Face version as well. And shout out to Oz, yes, I have trimmed the terrible lid. It's now looking a little bit tidier. I think it's much better this way. If you like this video and you want to see some more, then of course there will be links going up there so you can check those out. And what else? If you want to subscribe, then there'll be a little circular button that's going over there, and you can click that and then you can see the next videos. There'll be one going up next Sunday at 6 PM GMT, so you can check that out as soon as it's released.